Let me show you how I've approached gathering data insights from spreadsheet data by adding context using Microsoft 365 Copilot. What we're after here is meaning, so I've added data plus context to create it. Data may be meaningful to us just by looking at the cells and making conclusions based on our job role, skill level and experience, but we need to point Copilot in the right direction. So remember, it doesn't know what's in our head. Let's have a look. In this example, let's gather meaning and sentiment analysis from survey data that's been taken twice over the year. We're interested in understanding why the results came out like they did by adding the context of the changes that happened in the organisation. In this case, there was a change to the ERP system, and we want to know how the introduction of the system made an impact on the survey results and the change of impact across the different departments over the year. Also, we're interested in what can we do better the next time a major change happens like this. What preparations can we make so that the migration goes smoother? So let's go over the main prompt. I'm using the prompt framework of goal, context, source, expectations here to make sure as many different areas are covered for the best result. Now, just to confuse you, but it makes sense to me when constructing a prompt in Copilot, is to put the source first. This way we don't interrupt the flow of the rest of the prompt, but can reference the data later by just using period 1 or period 2 in this case. Next, there's the goal. I've defined this in the prompt purpose and defining the scoring. The values in each survey area criteria are represented with a number between 1 and 5. It's important we declare what we consider to be negative, positive and neutral so that Copilot can determine the impact of the results in a manner that matches our expectations. The context section is where we describe the organisation and the changes that have occurred during the year. We want Copilot to use this as structure to support reasoning that will be generated. I've kept it simple here, basing it on a single ERP system change, as creating sample data sets based on several key events during a 12-month period can get quite complicated if you're making it up. But let me know if you want to know how I did put it through together. And the last part are the expectations of the prompt. This is where we ask for the analysis to be done on the data sets, taking into consideration the context, including patterns, significant changes, sentiment understanding from the comments, and how the context of the ERP change could have influenced the survey results. Now, we're asking a lot here in a single prompt, so don't be surprised if the conversation needs to continue after the initial results. Sometimes we assume Copilot will output everything from a single prompt, but in my experience, asking for further support will get us even closer to our target result. It may take a little longer, but if this reduces the analysis from, let's say, days to hours, then it does make a difference. Stick with it. Let's see the results. First, let me show you the survey data. It's been sorted by department with the question areas at the top and employee comments down the side. Looks like most people that have answered the survey have been very diligent in making their voice heard. The two spreadsheets of survey data are for both halves of 2024, labelled H1 and H2. Okay, let's go to the Copilot Business Chat interface to enter the prompt. To save time, I've already referenced the H1 and H2 data and the rest of the text. Now let's press the send button. Copilot starts by showing us the overall sentiment trends for each period. For H1, many of the departments were showing a neutral or negative sentiment based on our scoring definitions in the prompt. H2 showed an improvement in work environment, management support and professional development. Nice. Now let's factor in the organisational changes in the context of the ERP system and its related processes and IT system updates. The response mentions the noticeable impact of the change. It's deduced from the sentiment that the significant improvements in H2 point to better workload management and collaboration. Now, the common keywords and phrases at the bottom there helps us understand the positive and negative sentiments that we need to be aware of in the comments, which is something we could dig deeper into as well. Next, let's focus on the impact on the HR and finance teams across the two periods. This prompt asks for a detailed comparison based on the survey data, and we're getting Copilot to use its own experiences of what ERP systems are to determine how the changes could have influenced the results. Also, as we think about our own growth mindset, let's find out what steps we should consider if the same project was to be done again in the future. Now we can see the response considers each department's changes. It's great that we can use this conversational approach to provide richer details during the session. Like I said before, we may not get the level of detail on the first prompt, so always try for more. There's our impact of ERP system changes that mentions frequent updates and lack of management support that led to stressful work environments. But we can also see that H2 showed that as the processes became more streamlined, more resource availability led to better job satisfaction. And finally, the steps for a smoother transition in the future, including training, management support, and resource allocation are there. We could use this to create a project plan or even a lessons learned report. Let's look at the results in a different way. This prompt asks for a table to be created that shows the different survey criteria and a summarization of the sentiment recorded for each period, but specifically for HR. Now, this is a great way to reframe the original results in a way that impacts a single team. What changes were seen during the year, and how did that differ from the organization as a whole, and even what does good look like? So let's use this prompt to find out more about the factors that contributed to HR's sentiment. As you can see, we can create a narrative in the context of HR, ERP systems, and the influence of other parts of the organization on those results. Now, what I've shown you here is just one example of the types of insights you can extract from data sources, such as survey results. So please share with us where else this can be used in your day-to-day work.